Hey everybody, glad you're here. This is the Chase Squirrelson Show, and I'm your host, Chase Squirrelson. And if you're listening right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Today's episode is one of those conversations that starts simple and then goes somewhere interesting. So let's jump in. Hey everybody, today's episode is either going to be brilliant or completely fall apart halfway through it when one of us forgets what we were going to say in mid-sentence. Either way, it's going to be authentic and fun. Today, I'd like to introduce for the first time a co-host and a longtime friend, Antsy. Antsy is the person I know best, probably, who I would consider to be a Renaissance man. Antsy is an accomplished artist. He's a former Madison Avenue award-winning ad guy with an ADHD brain well-suited for a high-performance world. Welcome, Antsy.
Hey, Chase. We love chasing your quips and anecdotes around. But for your listeners who may not know who Banksy is, I'm the younger brother of Banksy, the mysterious artist whose identity has never been revealed. I, of course, know it, but no one else in the world does.
By the way, I have to ask you, I'm looking at you on a monitor here. You look very dapper, very, very well-dressed and very well-groomed. Why? Because we're not on camera here, buddy.
It doesn't matter. I knew we had a recording, and I'm the type of person that always, just like your former mayor, Lightfoot, you have to make a good appearance for our public, even if our public can't see us. We have to be on top of our game at all times. So.
Well, I'm really looking forward today. I know we may have a couple brilliant ideas, probably forget them, and be interrupting each other constantly, but that's why not just be ourselves?
Yeah, it's par for the course, I understand.
The very fact that we even were able to coordinate this is a miracle, because you and I are, throughout our lives together, there's probably, I would say, a 25% chance that we're not going to show up for a lunch that we set up for ourselves or something like that. So the fact that we're here is a miracle.
Yeah, if I could recount the incredible cocktail parties, charities, events, dinners that I just totally forgot because I was so damn busy and I was immersed in something. And then late that night, oh my God, I could have been at the Met Gala or whatever it was. I mean, something unbelievable. And I'd be so frustrating for days, but it's just hard to keep track of everything when you got so much going on as we do.
So, Antsy, tell me, when's the first time you realized that your brain worked differently than other people, than typical people?
Yeah, that was quite a revelation. But if I had to pick a specific time, I'd say it's when I was awarded the Pulitzer Prize and the Nobel Prize simultaneously in my early teens. So that was quite a surprise.
Yes. Matter of fact, it's a well-kept secret.
I can't reveal everything to the world. We have to have a little mystery. But I won under a pseudonym, of course.
Of course. And of course, you're so humble that you really never told people about it. I know that. Yeah. Antsy, I've got to ask you this question because our listeners probably would like to know, how does somebody go from Madison Avenue to the canvas to become a painter? How did ADHD emerge from this chaos? And I think you're a very creative survivor. So how did that happen, Madison Avenue to an artist?
Well, frankly, it's pretty compatible because I was a writer, I was creative director, I was always in the creative side of things. So I really, in a way, had an artistic soul to begin with. But the turning point, of course, was 9/11 for me. That's when I decided to imagine that I had, perished in the attack as well. And if I had a chance to be reborn, reincarnated, what would I want to come back as? And art came up, and I pursued it nonstop for over 20 years now. And first 10 years, I was exclusively devoted to it as I watched my life savings crumble to nothingness. And that was a big sacrifice, but emotionally, it's been well worth it. And now finally momentum is caught up, and the sales are coming much more regularly than in the early years.
It's really interesting juxtaposition because you really went from a career of selling ideas to trying to sell paintings.
Yeah, and that was a tough transition because in much different world. In advertising, you can network, you can be smarter, you can be more aggressive, you can figure the angles, get business, get money. But in art, it doesn't work. You have to be discovered. And other people have to talk about you and appreciate you. You can't force it. You're just kind of out there working and trying to see where life will take you. And it's just very long, frustrating process. It took 5 to 10 years before I really had any measure of success, which I had no idea when I started. I thought I'd be an overnight hero, but not the
Well,
case.
I think it's interesting how you started in art, because the way your first idea was using what I thought was kind of a crazy system of recording ideas and notes and phone numbers and whatever. I think that's worth talking about.
Yeah, I know there's another famous artist, Burkhart, who founded the note-ism movement, and that's art.
Yes, I read about him, by the way. I did.
Yeah, and that's kind of the genre that I operate in a lot. It's scribbled hieroglyphic scrawls, and it's pretty fascinating because it's a daily calendar. And as things get done, they get crossed out, and by the time they're finished, it looks like something Basquiat would have created. Very outlandish and exciting imagery, and that just all comes about from out of the subconscious, basically.
It's interesting you mentioned Burkhart. I read an article about him, and he's kind of in a way, the starving artist. But one of the reasons apparently he's starving is he just hates to part with his paintings.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't think he's starving these days. He probably did a long time ago, but he's got quite a bit of acclaim now. But his that is a quirk that no matter how much he's offered with some of them, he just refuses to part with it because it's a piece of his soul. But fortunately, a lucky few are able to break through and make an offer that he will accept. But I've seen him turn down the mid to high six figures just because it's part of his soul.
I have to ask, how did ADHD, how does that work on Madison Avenue? I wonder if you're not the only one on Madison Avenue with that special characteristic or that trait.
Yeah, I'm sure most people on Madison Avenue actually have that trait. It kind of comes with the territory because you're always multitasking. You've got to set up meetings. You've got to be on the phones with clients. You've got to have campaigns ready to show. You've got to produce work. You've got to fly to the other coast to make commercials. There's so much rattling around your head all the time. So impossible to keep up with it. That's why, I would usually work till 10, 11, or 12 at night because I couldn't leave until everything was in order, a little OCD as well, and in its place with a clean office. And I felt like I'd accomplished everything that day, no matter how outlandish the demands were or how many tasks. But in the ad world, you've always got another project waiting or project you think you've already done. They say, well, we got a call, someone complained, we got to change the ad. There's just always something else to deal with. You got to keep writing and filling in and improving it up to the last second, which drives a lot of people crazy. My demand for that, but it's definitely a complex process, and the more you can handle, the better it is. So ADD enables you to be like an octopus handling many, many tasks at once.
Antsy, how I picture it is a brainstorming session on Madison Avenue with 6 ADHD people interrupting each other professionally as part of their making a living.
Actually, that's very accurate. That really is what happens is everyone's gotten different ideas and they're trying to throw them out. I was always very cool, calm, and mellow and stayed quiet. I was a listener more than one of those obnoxious contributors that had to be the main voice. But yeah, it gets crazy because this one has an opinion. This one, they're all excited and jabbering. So it's definitely part and parcel of the ad world, having able to multitask basically in their form.
I remember when we were neighbors, and it seemed like you never slept My vision was every ad agency is just a room full of people pretending they slept because everyone seemed to be always highly caffeinated.
Yeah, no, I mean, many nights we'd be up till like 3 or 4 and 5 in the morning. All the teams, if there was an urgent campaign needed, or especially on a new business pitch, there's so much to do up to the last minute. So we'd often be in the office that late, get a couple hours sleep on the sofa there or wherever, and have a quick breakfast, and then be at the client meeting at 9 or 10 in the morning. But that's very common.
I have to ask you, do you think ADD or ADHD makes people better at ideas? Is it tend to lend towards creativity, in your experience anyway?
Yeah, definitely, because you've been exposed to so much more, and you have access to so many different stimuli out there. So your creativity is all about combining, contrasting, um, putting together elements from your past or things that you've experienced, finding new ways to express them. So
You know what I would think it would be somewhat like people doing improv, where somebody starts out with an idea and then people kind of add or build onto it.
that's true. I always found it best to go off on my own and be in my office and just think. Because once people start throwing on ideas, my mind is swayed.
Hmm.
It's hard to shake that what I've heard and come up with something original because I'm thinking, well, that was kind of a solution, and I get kind of stuck on it. So I'd rather go off and think and cogitate on my own and come back with some ideas and then let them build on it. But yeah, it's pretty common. Teams or groups will get together and kind of share. It's kind of like comedy writers for TV. All be in a room throwing ideas and building on it. But I personally don't think that's the most effective way to get a powerful thought. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a way to build a structure. But
I'm kind of curious, I guess, two different things. Did you ever have a campaign that should have failed and didn't, and a campaign that everybody loved and failed and bombed? Does that ever happen?
not many bombed. For whatever reason, we were always pretty successful with whatever we came up with. Really hard pressed to think of a big failure. A lot of little failures, but not in the big areas where it counted. But there was something you had asked me earlier a while back when you said, what kind of last minute ideas saved a project or deadlines, chaos. One of the most significant examples of that was I had the Sony client and had a tough, demanding client, and we were all in a meeting one day and just before lunch, and we had a presentation ready to go. And during the meeting with all the Sony execs, they're coming up with some new strategic thoughts that we hadn't heard before. They kind of made what we had brought irrelevant and not appropriate. Um, and I think the head client sensed that, and he said to me, or he said to the group, well, before we get into the solution, we're gonna break for lunch, and when we come back, Antsy here will present the winning idea. So I immediately went into overdrive mode and panic mode, freaking out while they're all out enjoying a nice lunch. I'm scribbling furiously, trying to come up with an idea. And by the time they came back in, I didn't have it, of course, typeset or on some nice looking board, but he turns to me and says, what's the approach and theme line we're going to go with? And I held up a big piece of paper where I had handwritten it. It just said, Sony just expanded the universe. And they loved it. It was dealing with products that they had, the variety of new products they had coming out. So it fit perfectly what they were talking about. Everyone was amazed, somewhat dazzled, and I could see him kind of chuckling under his breath that somehow I'd survived this unbelievable test of fire.
What's the most ridiculous pitch maybe you guys ever did or you did and it got approved? Do you ever remember one that was kind of ridiculous?
Oh boy, there were a lot of wacky ideas, but effective though.
Antsy, I've got one campaign that I really love that you did is you were doing something for the New York Rangers, and you came up with a clever one. You had a photo of it might have been Eddie Jockman then. I don't remember who the goalie was, but you said you had Jockman standing in front of the net and said the toughest place in town to get in.
Oh right,
I
get
thought that
into
was
it.
brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had a lot of fun with those sports. We had Yankees and Knicks and Rangers. Yeah, that was pretty heady stuff. One of the Yankee ones was the headline was "This year we're playing dirty," and the visual was one of the Yankees sliding into second base in a cloud of dust.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you actually were doing that during the Steinbrenner years, George Steinbrenner, which he was firing Billy Martin every other year or whatever was going on.
yeah, we love Billy, but yeah, those were one. He was an amazing guy, and he willed them to success so many times, as much as he was hated. But the fans loved his winning attitude.
It's interesting. Our friendship has gone such a long time. I was in a different kind of business then. I was in a business that actually my family was in, and so we really occupied different parts of the world. I mean, I was a CEO, or eventually a CEO, and it was X's and O's for me, and yet there was. The reason my business became very successful is I basically was a visionary. I was able to create a mission of what I thought the company could be, but I had to hire people that actually could execute because I was good at throwing out ideas and visions. But if you wanted anybody to complete something, but you were able to do that, especially like even with painting, you do have to finish what you're doing. And I think you also juggle, you might be doing more than one painting at a time.
Oh yeah, no, I usually have two or three going, and then if I have the right facility, like a studio or a big lawn for a certain type, I can have at least five going at once, and it kind of one stimulates another. A thought for one might work in another, but there is a big commonality between Madison Avenue and the art world, and that's in the ad world. We do campaigns for clients, and in the art world, we do series of paintings like Picasso's Blue Period. It's kind of like a campaign in a sense, but they're called series or limited editions, or so. And that's a pretty similar aspect of the two businesses.
We're talking mostly about ADHD as it relates to our professions and things like that. But you also have an interesting ADHD personal life. I think that in the time I've known you, which is over 50 years, you've had at least 50 girlfriends or maybe 100. I don't know. And it's interesting how you were able to keep track of all that, or why the relationships, why they ended as quickly as some of them did.
Well, some of them end when they realize I'm an artist and not a multimillionaire businessman. um,
Yeah. Is it when you were asking them for money? Is that part of the problem? Is when you're asking for some funds? I don't know.
Never asked a woman for money, but it's just the reality that so many in the places I've lived, LA and New York, are into that mindset. That's their overriding goal or agenda. So it come whether you're aware of it or not, when it comes up, that's often a deal breaker.
I also believe that the movie Shallow Hal, I think that was with Jack Black, I think that was actually modeled after your life. Because I remember one time you were dating a girl that was not even a 10, she was a 15. And you broke up with her. And I think you said something like, but her one leg was a little bit shorter than the other. Something like, I mean, come on. No, maybe it was a toe. The one toe was the one big toe was larger than the other big toe, or something like that.
Nothing that shallow, literally, but yeah, there's always some, as we all have, some fatal flaw or in just something that kind of overrides your psyche, and you keep thinking about obsessing on whatever that one thing is, or two things or whatever. But The quest for perfection goes on, and as we know, it's a hopeless quest. But
Antsy, I do remember on this dating situation, I'd get a call from you, and it would be this is years ago, but it would be difficult to hear you. And I say, I'm having trouble with this connection. You go, well, I'm in Brazil. And I was just talking to you this morning. You weren't in Brazil. He said, no, I just met this girl in a cafe, and we started to talk, and she has a place in Brazil. So I just hopped on the next flight, and I'm in Brazil now. And I think maybe I used to consider you like American Gigolo or something. I mean, you're everywhere. And it was never, you're never in a shanty. You're usually in a girl's mansion or chalet or whatever. So you got around quite a bit.
Yeah, well, it always starts with genuine attraction and affection and romance and really appreciating and enjoying them. But I can't believe you remember that. I didn't think it was that abrupt, but yes, I do remember. She was an intern at one of our agencies, and I, of course, was much younger then, so it wasn't that big a difference. So we went and had an amazing time, and I really bonded with her father, and we went out on his huge yacht into the ocean, fishing many times. So that was a wonderful experience. I let ADD run with it.
Well, speaking of girlfriends, I think the whole name of the Chase Squirrelson show is that I had a girlfriend, and one day in frustration, she said, "You know something? You have the attention span of a squirrel," and it kind of stuck with me. So that's kind of how I ended up starting this podcast. And anything would you like to impart to our listeners in closing? Something you'd like them to remember about Antsy?
Dedication to excellence, driven, focused, relentless, seeking perfection, and high standards, integrity. Yeah, all of which are somewhat unusual in the ad world.
Also, approval seeking, I think, is one of your main. You're always looking. You want to make sure you look good. So you've got stories about that. I know. Even if you're in a hotel and there's maid service, you're kind of concerned about what she thinks.
Yes, I've had many cleaning ladies comment on my hair being too short or too long, or the beard, having a beard at all, or if I do, is it too scraggly? I take these comments to heart and try to adapt myself to adhere to their approval.
One story I thought was, this is a true story, the day that for a while you wanted to see, should I have a beard or not? So you shaved half of your beard. And I think you spent a whole morning and then turning your head this way to see if there were reactions.
Yes, people would approach from the right and they would see one Antsy, and people from the left see a totally different Antsy. And that was pretty intriguing. And then when I turned, it freaked some of them out, including myself. So that experiment didn't last too long, maybe a day or two, but that was another creative outburst.
Well, Antsy, this has been fun for our first attempt to do a little co-host exhibition today, and there'll be more to come later. And I really enjoyed being with you this morning, and look forward to the next time. This has been Chase Squirrelson and Antsy, my longtime partner in crime, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, always a joy to bond with you for sure.
If this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who'd get it. You can follow the show so you don't miss the next conversation. And if you feel like it, a quick rating helps the show a great deal. Either way, I appreciate you being here. We'll talk soon.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. The content reflects personal experiences and opinions and is not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, mental health, or legal advice. Flint Rock LLC, the hosts, and guests make no representation or warranties and assume no liability for decisions or actions taken based on this content. Always consult a qualified professional regarding your own situation.